Hello everyone, this is Cracking Googles, and this is the third story from the r/NoSleep subreddit. Let us begin. Now I believe what she said. As a criminal psychologist, I have seen many who attempt to fool us professionals into thinking that they were incapable of understanding the consequences, to lighten the sentence they have well deserved. I have only one case whom attempted to convince me she was truly sane. Now, as I lay here in my cabin deep in the wilderness in Colorado, I now see what she was trying to say. I have been working in this field for nearly 40 years, and I have analysed many criminals, with few whom are classified as criminally insane. I always have been drawn in by the mind and what causes one to behave in a certain way. My parents were severe drug addicts who made countless trips in and out of the system till they passed away. Luckily, my oldest sister Kelly removed me from their care when I was at a young age. I figured this is what caused me to take an interest in what causes someone to make these self-destructive behaviours with little thought of what's truly at stake. My sister sacrificed a lot to help me have a successful future, so in seeing this, when I decided on a path, I decided to go against the grain of my friends who stayed in the state and left on a scholarship to Harvard. While I attended Harvard, I did my best to study all I could and realise in this what caused my parents to be the way they were, which helped me forgive them. Even the day after finishing my doctorate, I found out some tough news. My father had killed my mum, my sister and himself in a drug-induced craze. Before this happened, I wanted to be a child psychologist. Yet after a year of living on my inheritance to take time to process the news, I decided that working with criminals was the way to go. It took a while to find the place I wanted to go. It really is true what they say. Even if you have a degree, hell even a doctorate, it's still hard getting your foot in the door. Luckily, one night after going out with some guys from my classes, I got a call from El Paso County, Colorado. Having not many things tie me down to San Francisco, I accepted without a doubt and made my way to Colorado. In the beginning of my career I did struggle, but luckily my mentors gave me many opportunities to grow. About 4 years into my career I had met my wife, and 10 years later I had a family with 4 kids of my own. Throughout the first 25 years I thought I'd seen it all, until 2002. The year had been slow, in a good way. With this, I had the opportunity to make up time I had missed with my family. Till December 2002. I was on vacation at the time with my family, visiting my wife's family in Oregon, when I got the call. At the first call I ignored, due to the area code being Denver, CO. After the third time I decided to answer and hear a voice I didn't recognise. Hello, Dr. Smith. This is Matt. We have an inmate that refuses to talk to any of our psychologists in Summit County, or in the area. I called Charles, and he suggested I reach out to you and see if you could assist. Who knows, she may be willing to talk to you. By the way, we need you to sign an NDA. The smile I had on my face quickly switched to confusion. What the hell is this guy talking about? Why is this so important that I have to sign an NDA? We already cannot disclose many things about our clients, despite them being, criminals. I also hadn't heard any major news in the Colorado area, let alone anything happening in Breckenridge. I held my tongue despite this thought, due to the urgency in his tone. So after a long pause, I gathered myself and agreed to help due to my moral duty to help anyone that I could. Luckily, they were willing to have a place for my family and I to stay, so we made our move to our temporary home, despite having no clue what I was getting into. It was around Valentine's Day I began on this case. I began with the sheriff, who took the statement from the defendant. I'll be calling her Meg. The officer had told me that Meg was a 17-year-old female who had killed her mum, dad, 3 siblings, boyfriend, 2 friends, and their parents on a vacation in their family's cabin near Grizzly Peak. According to the autopsy, she had slaughtered them with an axe while they were asleep. After she had killed her best friend's dad, she had called the cops on herself, saying that she had committed the crime. Simple, right? Well, no. As they were talking to her, she was claiming that they were not really themselves, and that something else was wearing their skin. She had believed this delusion so deeply that she had shut down and refused to talk to anyone, even her own lawyer. Due to the barbaric nature and legends that were passed around, the cops decided to keep the case out of public view. Even after a year of being in jail, Meg refused to make a single sound, even to the cellmates she was around. She insisted and truly believed that what she did was real, and with her sentencing approaching, they needed her to talk before she was put in the gen pop. So that's where I come into play. Then and even now, I never heard someone attempt to prove that they weren't truly insane. I now wish that what she said was just some rambling from a psychotic break. It took many sessions, sitting in complete silence. That's until May 29th, 2003. I had arrived a little late to the session due to my youngest having flu, so I rushed in, and as I did, I stained my nice button-down shirt with coffee. I shrugged it off as I opened the door and approached the young, green-eyed, brown-haired Meg. "Hello, Meg. I'm sorry I'm late. Guess we both having an interesting day," I said as I made my way to the seat across from her. I noticed her studying me from the top of my head as I grabbed my clipboard pen, and I saw her crack a little grin on the brown stain making itself known on my white button-down shirt. "Does my misery entertain you?" I said, assuming that she wouldn't say a thing. "No, it's just it looks like a little angry face," she replied. I was speechless. Is she finally going to talk? I truly didn't know what to say. I had been working on her case and just talking to myself, and this was too good to be true. "At least I know you ain't one of them. I don't know who is and who isn't, but I want you to know I'm not insane." I could see in her eyes she truly meant the words she said. After a moment to gather my composure, I asked my first question, which would also be my biggest mistake. "Well, what happened to lead up to you being with a psychologist, whose job is to determine if you're mentally sane?" As I responded, I could see a look in her eyes. Was it remorse, pain, regret? I had been talking to someone who hadn't said anything to me for 3 months, let alone anyone for a year. I truly wanted to know what she had to say. Trust me, I know how I sound, I really do. I even sometimes doubt that this wasn't true, till I see the imposters. Raising an eyebrow, I nodded, observing her body language, as she proceeded to tell me her truth. "Imposters, you say? Can you explain?" "Well, I feel me telling you what really happened may help you understand. I'm all ears," I responded as I leaned back into my chair, preparing to write every observation I had to see if she was insane. Meg cleared her throat and lowered her head for a moment. I swear I could see a tear shed from her face. I felt bad for her personally. It's so sad to see someone so gone that they truly believe what they said. As she lifted her head, I gave her a nod, assuring her I was listening, and that's what I did. Well, it was nearly New Year's, so my family decided that we were going to our cabin located in a remote area near the summit of Grizzly Peak. It had been years since we all had gone, and now with my little brother Shane turning 12, it seemed like a great opportunity to go. Of course I invited my boyfriend, Charles, and Kelly and Sam's family, being childhood friends of my parents. It was going to be what I thought was a great adventure to the unknown. It was pretty desolate out there. The only way we could make calls is in the house phone, and even then it took 30 minutes hike to arrive to the cabin. So when we all arrived, finally, We didn't even have the cars in close proximity to us, so we all packed accordingly. The first 2 days of the week vacation was amazing. We were all sledding, playing board games, or trying to catch foxes in the snow. It was a beautiful experience. I wish I could just relive those 2 days over and over before things began to get strange. Meg paused as the smile on her face melted into a pout, and she began to slightly shake. Well, it was Wednesday night, and our parents were drinking wine and playing boring adult games like Scrabble, so we decided to go play a game of flashlight tag, mixed with hide and seek. We told our parents, and they told us to be careful, so we agreed. We set our boundaries and began to make our way into the forest with our flashlights in our hands. I was it first, so I closed my eyes and began to count to 60, giving everyone time to disperse and find a tree, rock or fallen rock to claim. I noticed how quiet the woods truly were, and a feeling of unease tugged slightly in my stomach. It was odd. I heard no birds, crickets, or even the frightening noise of a fox or mountain lion. The wind was blowing, but not even the leaves were rustling. I naively brushed it off and made my way with the goal to win the game. I found Noah first, and we set out to find the others hiding among the desolate landscape. It had been nearly 15 minutes by the time I found my sisters, Chloe and Abby, hiding together behind an aspen tree about 90 feet away. As we approached a snow-covered log behind the cabin, we had found Charles and Sam's little brother. "I know where Sam is," he shouted as soon as we found him, and pointed up the hill, making Sam place second. Yet we still couldn't find Kelly. It had nearly been 15 minutes since we found Sam, and we couldn't find Kelly. We had searched everywhere in the perimeter we had set up, and she appeared to have just vanished. "No one knows where Kelly is?" Charles turned around to ask us, as concern grew on our face. Well, I was it, so clearly I don't know. She couldn't have gone that far, right? We all quieted down, and as we did, I attempted not to let the feeling of something being off overtake me. Just as I began to point out that if we didn't find her, we would all be severely berated, Noah shouted, "Maybe she went up there," pointed towards an enormous aspen a little above the tree line. "What does that have to do with?" I interrupted, and as soon as I did, Meg interjected again. "You're just going to have to bear with me, please. You're lucky I'm talking to you anyway." Well, we all decided to head up towards the tree, hoping that we didn't have to get our parents involved. As we approached, the feeling of dread grew. I ran up to Charles, grasping his arm as tight as I could. About 6 feet away, we could see a silhouette of someone standing just a little behind the trunk of the tree. "Kelly, this is way past the boundaries. What are you doing?" Sam screamed as she made her way towards her. She didn't make a single movement, and as I shined my flashlight on her, I noticed she was standing with her back towards us. It appeared to be Kelly from behind, but something just fell off. Maybe it was the fact that she didn't move at all, or the fact that she didn't turn around, but I was over it, and wanted to go back inside, so I just shouted, "It's getting late, catch up if you like. It's a straight shot down, okay? Even though you cheated, you win." With that, she responded in a hoarse tone, "Okay, I'll be there soon." And with that, we left. We headed to the cabin and quickly made our way to bed. We had a long hike planned to the peak in the morning, so we needed our rest. So we made our way to our bed, mine which I shared with Kelly. That night I had the worst dreams. I'll spare you the details, but in my dream, Kelly was standing in front of my bed with her mouth agasp and eyes wide. I attempted to move, but couldn't, and as soon as I tried to scream, a screech that sounded as if thousands of nails reverberated out of her mouth as her eyes rolled back and her skin began to peel off. As soon as she began to shed her skin, I woke up to my alarm. It took a moment to awake and remember yesterday, so anxiety began to creep in, since I never heard her come into the room. I attempted to nudge her awake and use an excited voice to exclaim that today was the summer day. Okay, was the only response I got. I thought she was mad at me, but not wanting to press it, I shrugged it off and got ready. I guess this is when everything changed. Kelly was quiet the whole time, even towards her parents, and seemed to be walking in an awkward gait. It was as if he made a centipede walk on two legs. We all assumed she may have hurt a leg or something and brushed it off. The hike was beautiful, yet we still saw no wildlife. Not even the birds made their song known. Around 4 PM we finally made it to the peak. After pacing ourselves, and Kelly finally spoke, saying that she was going back to the cabin, which Sam and both of their parents insisted on going to, which left us taking in the beauty of our surrounding. I knew something was wrong, but had my focus solely on Kelly, I didn't see the signs that everyone else changed too, till it was too late. Tyler, my parents, my siblings and I made our way down, and as my mind began to lose focus on Kelly, I began to notice something was off with my family and boyfriend too. The way they walked just wasn't right. The way they talked sounded wrong. Noah, who had talked so much, had nothing to say the whole trip. As the reality sank in, I realised I may be in real danger. As soon as night fell and they fell asleep, I ended them as soon as I could. I didn't know what to say at the end, except Meg was truly insane. There's no such thing as monsters or fake people. It's just too crazy to believe myself. Even after her sentence, and killing herself shortly after, I refused it to be true, till tonight. My family and I decided to take a trip to Pikes Peak. You see, I swear I can see someone who looks like my daughter standing outside, calling for me, making slight jerks as she makes her way to pretend to be me, maybe even pretend to be you. Today's story was brought to us by user desolate_noodles. I would appreciate any feedback you may have for me in the comments, and I look forward to reading again. Please like and subscribe if you want more videos, and tell me any suggestions that you may have in the comment section. For now, good night.